Welcome to Three Tiny Questions. Three Tiny Questions with Josh Kilmer-Purcell, co-founder of Beekman 1802. That's a big brand.
Hey, everybody. I'm very excited. I'm so excited that I'm doing it all wrong. Welcome to Three Tiny Questions, the podcast where three tiny partners ask the leading minds in marketing one question each about brands, trends, culture, and whatever else comes to mind in an effort to make the world of advertising a tiny bit smarter. I'm Tom Chrisman, partner at Tiny, an ad agency devoted to making great work with great people, having a great time doing it. And with me, as always, are my partners. That's Mike Robner, and that's Michael Stupak over there. Hey, say hi, you tiny geniuses.
Hey.
Aloha. On today's episode, we welcome Josh Kilmer-Purcell. Born in the ad game, Josh worked as an art director at agencies like Merkley, Kirschenbaum and Bond, SS&K, Chiat, before rising to ECD at J. Walter Thompson. Of course, that was just his day job because Josh moonlighted as drag star Aquadisiac and simultaneously penned the New York Times bestseller, I Am Not Myself These Days, one of three novels he would go on to author. That not being nearly enough to satisfy him, he and his husband Brent won The Amazing Race. Oh, and he turned a humble goat farm into the international sensation known as Beekman 1802, a skincare company that has become one of the largest in the U.S. across Ulta Beauty, QVC, HSN, spawning a TV show, a magazine, and three cookbooks. My goodness, we feel like we've done nothing because we have done nothing compared to this man. Welcome, Josh.
Hi. Okay, wait. I know you have three tiny questions, but I just need to know, is this one of those situations where like my first answer is that I want an infinite amount of questions, and then because Tom is a genie, this happens?
You're the only one who's figured it out, Josh, and you win. You win. All right.
Infinite amount of questions.
Air horns. Put air horns in here. Put make it flash.
Crack the code. You will be sorry.
Well, hi. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here with Tom again. Well, with everybody, but with Tom, because we worked together for so many, many years. Caused a lot of problems, but did some good things too.
It's true.
Won bronze. Our shining moment together.
That's right. That was the high point. And we joked that this is it. It's all downhill from here. And you know what? For advertising, I was thinking about it the other day. I think that was literally the high point of advertising. Summer of 2000.
All right. Let's get started. Josh, why don't you tell us and our audience more about your story, what you're doing now, and how you ended up here having to answer three tiny questions, which may be an infinite amount of tiny questions.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, that was an amazing summation of my super messy resume and life. So thank you for that. I won't rehash all of that, but what we're doing now is my husband and I, as you said, we bought a goat farm as a weekend getaway many years ago. And right after we bought it, this was 2006, we got a letter in our mailbox from a guy named Farmer John, a neighbor, losing his farm. He had 80 goats. He had nowhere to bring them. So we said, bring them to our farm. And we had no idea that was going to change our life. And we always say that was the first moment of kindness, act of kindness, that started the company that became Beekman 1802, which is still founded on like two main ingredients, goat milk and kindness. Because it was just a year after John moved in that the big recession hit, 2008. Everybody in advertising remembers that. My husband and I both lost our jobs within a month of each other. And all we had was 80 goats and Farmer John and our neighbors. And so we literally Googled, what can we make with goat milk? And the first thing that came up was goat milk soap. And since then, we've sold over 52 something million bars of soap. And now we're the #1 skincare brand in Ulta and everyone else. But it really comes down to goat milk and kindness and branding and marketing.
And Josh and
that's
Brent.
it.
I think there's a little bit more to that, but we'll accept that answer for now.
We're gonna get into
question.
it because I think the answers to these questions will because I know all the questions, Josh. I've looked ahead.
You knew ahead?
ahead.
Oh my God, cheater!
I cheated, and I get to ask the first question.
It's time for question one.
You were way ahead of the founders of, everyone's talking about like Liquid Death and all these cool, like, hipster brands. But you were way ahead of this trend of like ad creatives going off and making their own brands and just starting it. Everybody's doing it now. What is it about being a creative in advertising that helps make this happen? And are there skills that you use now that you learned from doing marketing and advertising?
The easiest path to entrepreneurship is having a marketing background. There's just no two ways about it, because you can learn everything else. You can learn finance, you can learn human resources, you can Google those things and just, verbatim do them. Everything from coding our first website, like I learned to code a website and process credit cards and all that. That stuff you can learn. But if you're not a natural born marketer, that's going to be the toughest part of people starting a company. So in a way, anybody, any creative in any marketing field can be an entrepreneur. That's the key skill.
What are the things that those people that are like, oh, I'll get marketing, what don't they get? What are the subtler things?
Storytelling and persuasion. Like those are that's all you need to run a business, is you need to be able to tell a story and persuade people to buy your product. And those are the skills that creative people have. June is coming up, and Brent and I, we call that Professional Gay Month, because we always get asked to talk about LGBT issues and Pride Month and all that. And one of the issues that always comes up is creativity, and why are LGBT plus people creative? And our answer is that because creativity is just problem solving, and LGBTQ people, from the day that they're aware that they're different, are having to solve problems, a million times a day to try to like convince people that they're not gay, basically. So that's why so many of us are creative. And that's why any creative is because they've had to overcome obstacles. So I have no idea if that answers your question, but that's creativity is the key to getting around any obstacle.
That's an incredible answer. Well, that's my question. One
Good
A,
job,
one
Tom.
1A and 1B. I asked to follow up.
It's time for question 2.
So Josh, Beekman 1802 has 3 tenets around kindness that you talk about on the website: kindness to animals, kindness to the planet, and kindness to community. What are the most important ways you feel that you can use your platform as a brand, personally and professionally?
That's a good question. I mean, I think the language, the love language that Brent and I share is branding. So that that's how we can communicate with the world. I come from a marketing background. He comes from a medical and media background. So, I think any good person wants to live in a kinder world. And the way that we can amplify our belief in kindness and making change is through branding, through creating a company and branding and getting that message out there. So that's sort of just the language that we speak and can get our values out there. What's interesting about kindness, though, is that is the key pillar to our brand. But we had no idea what our brand was about for the first 10 years, at least. And it took an outside agency to come in and tell us what our brand was, which is a little bit embarrassing. But we realized that, we were growing, we were getting very big, and we needed to be just like sharper branding people. We had a lot of, we're a bigger team then. We need to really figure out who we were. I at least knew from my background, to be disciplined about that, have a strategy for the brand. And this outside agency came in, and we started talking about all the things we did with the goats and, sustainability and working with our neighbors and rural economies and giving to natural disaster victims and all the things that we did as a company. And they were the ones that came back and said, your company is about kindness. Like, there's your one word answer right there. And it taught me something that I think is valuable to marketers and clients. You can never describe the mountain that you're standing on. So we built this entire company. It grew and grew and grew and grew and grew. We were the founders at the top, and you can't describe how tall a mountain is, how steep it is. You can't describe it when you're standing on top of it. So that's when you really need that outside perspective. And I think that's something great for marketers or clients to remember. Like, the things that they believe they are may not necessarily be what they are. And that's a key role of the agency to come in.
Yeah, to come in and play therapist almost, really, to
Right.
hear your own words and understand them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What did you want it to be? What was I'm sorry, I'm doing another follow-up question. What did you want it to be? What did you want your brand to be that it like, was there
Well, we never had a goal. In fact, we started out as a full-on lifestyle company. You mentioned the cookbooks, and like we had a line of home furniture, we had a line of foods that was sold in Target. We had, along with the soap and the skincare product, we were basically like any entrepreneur. We were doing anything we could to get a dollar. So, you know, somebody said, do you want to license Beekman 1802 to a muck boot line? We're like, we're there, you know. So we sort of got messy in our messaging and purpose, but it was really just because we needed to pay the bills and pay our team.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we got to the certain size, that's when we said, okay, now we've really got to sharpen who we are and what we are. Yeah.
Thank you.
By the way, we're totally stealing that mountain analogy for every meeting we go into with a client who doesn't think they need marketing, which is
Yes.
right.
Yes.
CMOs getting fired left and right, like mountain analogy.
Exactly.
Mountain
Yes.
analogy.
It's time for question 3. Wee-hee!
Okay, here's my question. Here's some of the things we already talked about, but I'm just going to rattle them off again, all right? Because they're pretty impressive. Best-selling author would be enough for many people, right? Founding any company with success would be enough for most people, especially when you start as a kind of goat herder, I think, and then turning into the success that you have. I mean, even when you were younger and you were in the drag scene and a drag star, I mean, that's pretty impressive too. Then going on the first season, I believe, of The Amazing Race and then winning it. Being on it would be enough. Winning it, pretty good. Out of all these things, what's been the most gratifying? I mean, like I said, each one of these, I can imagine myself going, "This, I did," and then be done. But here you go. So out of all of those, is there any one in particular, or is there anything that's a thread in between all that that's gratifying?
Well, I feel like the Oprah answer would be the next thing is the most gratifying. In truth, they're all equally gratifying and terrifying, because each one of our accomplishments was made out of desperation. From early days of doing drag, I accepted a job in New York City as a junior art director in an ad agency. We all know that doesn't pay the rent in New York City, so I had to come up with another job that I thought I could do and have fun with, and so it was desperation. That was drag. The Amazing Race, we had started our company, Beekman 1802. We had no money for marketing. We were trying to make a name for ourselves. Got a call for one to be on The Amazing Race. We're like, okay, could be terrible, could cancel our business if things go wrong, but it's all we have for marketing dollars. Let's do it. Every step of the way has been a pivot out of desperation. So none of it has been like a goal that's been achieved. And maybe 55 years on, I'm thinking, well, maybe that's actually what life is just making the best of what's next and doing your best at it. So I realized, like, Oprah that would make her sick.
Right.
She would physically be nauseous at that answer.
Now I totally understand what you mean about it's terrifying, because given your history and why you've made each success happen, what's going to happen at poor Beekman that you need to pivot again? You know what I mean?
I know.
Let's just hope that you're done with with the fixing problems thing, and now you get to pick something that you want to tackle, maybe that isn't in your own life.
Okay, that's a really good insight, because I'm at that crossroad right now, and I think all of us are. We're all at that stage in life, and I don't think there's a roadmap for people to scale back their lives. People we know are retiring, and every time I'm on LinkedIn, somebody's like announcing their retirement, and then every comment is like, "Can't wait for the next chapter. Can't wait to see what's next." And I got an email from Oprah Daily, a few months ago, that was like, how to strive at 100. And we've created this culture of having to do something next, bigger, better, more, like your entire life, when in reality, we're all aging diminishes you. So I think there does need to be a cultural roadmap for how to shrink your life happily and be fulfilled. So as I'm saying that, I'm realizing that I will come up with a huge program and business around how to shrink your life when you get
And it
older.
happened here on Three Tiny
Yeah.
Questions. That's
Right.
where he came up with this
Now I'm
idea
touring
out of
the world.
desperation because he just
Yeah.
wanted to get out of the room.
Thanks a lot. Now I got 12 dates in Hong Kong a year.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
news is that we're all
I
partners.
will win at aging.
That is so Josh, though. That this is so Josh. Like the going for the bronze, that was you. Like the whole like this is great, but it's gonna end, and there's gonna be some other horrible thing that happens. So we better
Yes.
do something to yeah.
It's called growing up gay in Wisconsin. It's like you just are doing anything not to be beat up.
Well,
it.
well. Those are all the questions we've got on Three Tiny. You're your hosts, the tiny team of Tom Chrisman, Mike Rovner, and me, Michael Stupak. Check us out at tinyadagency.com and all over your LinkedIn feeds.
And tune in next time and send us your biggest marketing questions. And you could find yourself featured on Three Tiny Questions if you're as awesome as Josh Kilmer-Purcell. Stay tiny, everyone.
Stay tiny.